your light shine. What's for you will be for you. With the real ones rooting for you. Just let your energy introduce. Just say, you know why. So we'll worry about that next man's try. Try to match up on next man's life. Fix your life. And as soon as I start walking on, you want to make something must be wrong, your man. I don't come here for that. All your head, man. But I know it's the other telling you. I'm telling you nothing that you will never defeat me. Just show me your destiny. I'm telling you. Take your hand and point it up in the ceiling for me. Please. I'm telling you. Who number one, we don't come to take nothing from me. I'm telling you. Some people, music, look everybody chanting. I'm telling you. Some people, this is why we come in me blessings. I'm telling you. Don't corruption, then so everyone can see message. I'm telling you, we all feel pumping. Yes, it's how we run things. We happy time to let it show. Make a transition up on the road. Lift the chin up, free up and head up. We have some blessings before we head out. Before we leave here, we have to yellow. I'm telling you.
Good morning to all of our listening audience. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 CitysoundFM, 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Sister Isle Radio, broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and of course 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A special good morning to those of you joining us on the live video. Remember to like and share the video. Get everybody involved in the conversation. And this morning in studio with me, I have none other than Mr. Bowler. It's Monday, so he kind of obligated to be here with me.
Good morning to you, the listening public, every single one of you, by whatever means you're listening. I really hope that you had a fantastic weekend, and I hope that your Monday morning started with no blues. It was a really nice and pretty green Monday for you, that your week is starting off really good. We are here, as we say, to bring you information, but also to listen to your complaints, your concerns, and even your suggestions as we strive to make Grenada a better place for all its citizens.
Absolutely. So, guys, it is Monday, which means we have an open line from the very beginning. We have a lot of topics for discussion this morning. So I'm not going to say the topic for discussion is, right? We have a lot of topics. There may be something that you want to get clarity on, you know? Just call us, give us a ring, and we'll be happy to answer your questions as long as we are able to. The numbers to call are 440-73777 for local calls and 440-7377 for your WhatsApp calls as well. If you, not calls, sorry, messages. Remember, you can't call on the WhatsApp. We can't answer yet. But if you are in the diaspora, you can call 347-329-3101, and we will be more than happy to take your calls. So, Mr. Bola, how was your weekend?
Oh, I had a really pleasant one. We had quite a bit of rain for this weekend.
Yes, we did.
It was wet, but good, enjoyable. You know, it was a little cooler. I was able to get at least a bit of work done in the garden. And not as much on Saturday as I normally would want to do, because we had, in my own village last night, we had the lighting of the Christmas tree. The normal thing that happens every year around this time, where you go to different villages or polling division and light up a tree. There's music, there's snacks for the children, and of course the parliamentary rep for the area would come and do toys distribution and so. So in La Poetry, it was last night. It was really nice. You know, the kids came out, some of the parents, not the normal numbers that we would see. The weather was very inclement too, but more than that, you know, there was this big activity at the stadium, Wagiti's Bingo.
Yes,
you know, a lot of money on giveaway. Well, if you got the correct numbers, yes, you will get some. So, I think a lot of people went to that as well. But it went good. You know, incident-free, accident-free. The children had fun. They danced, they sang, they laughed. There was a local chorals group that came and sang a couple of songs.
Nice,
you know.
Nice.
So they did well then. tonight we're heading to Tivoli, the Sacred Heart Catholic Schoolyard, for the areas of, Upper Conference, Tivoli proper, the cemetery area, Ahoma. The kids in those kind of areas, the Pan Bridge, Pointsville sort of area, they all gather there by 6 o'clock. Also, there would be a lighting tonight. There's a double in Conference. That's now the lower conference, not upper conference, that I spoke about before. That's leading towards Moya, Carriacou area. I was told that it is in front of Mrs. Mitchell's premises. There used to be a shop there one time and a bakery. I think there's a church that now operates from the downstairs of that building. That's in that by road. It's just that by road that can take you into Carriacou off the main riding conference opposite Mr. Graves' place. The people in Conference will know exactly where, but just in case someone is listening, you can share the message. They start a little earlier than Tivoli. The one in Tivoli starts about 6:30 or is scheduled to start about 6:30. I think about 4 or 4:30 there, about an hour or two before. They're hoping Minister will be in Conference so the kids there can get a little snack and see the lighting of the Christmas tree and, of course, receive the toys from the parliamentary rep, Honorable Skeeter Lewis.
All right. And I do believe that there are a lot of these same sort of activities happening all over the islands where we have our parliamentary representatives having the Christmas parties for the constituents, the children in their constituency. And also I believe that there is a portion of that where they give toys to the children that, need it the most to ensure that, everybody has basically not the same Christmas, but a good Christmas.
A good Christmas,
nonetheless.
Yeah. And some of them will do, it's happening island-wide. Every parliamentary rep normally gets involved in that. But there's also, for some of them, the elderly dinner. I know, for example, in our constituency, our neck of the woods, I think they 3 or all 4, I'm not sure, I wasn't wrong at the time. Somewhere on the 3rd of December did the senior citizens dinner. And most constituency will do that. They do have the children part. That is where you light the tree, there's music, the children come, they get snacks, cake and sandwiches, juice, popcorn, whatever they do. Some people even do, food, so they get small dishes of food and so on. And they would get their toys. But there's also a specific time and place when they will do for the elderly. I recall sometime towards the end of November, the St. John's constituency did the elderly dinner. I remember it was a Wednesday. I don't remember the exact date. I know that St. Andrews, the constituencies came together and did that. And so you just need to make contact with the office or with the parliamentary rep and her secretary, his or her secretary or so. And they can give you the dates when they would be in the different areas, where they'd be lighting a tree in a village, when, and when there's the date schedule, if it has not yet happened, for the elderly dinner. So it's something that's island-wide. Every parliamentary rep doing their own bit in the neck of the woods.
All right. And if it's possible for us to get those schedules, it'd be nice so we can let the people know exactly when they're going to be in their area so that the children can go out and really have a good time for the season. But, of course, we know it's Christmas, but the work never ends. In politics and government, there's always something every day that pops up, some information that must be given, clarity that must be given. Over the weekend, I had an encounter with an individual who, made some comments that really did need clarity. And I want to believe that if that person would have that misconception, they're probably not the only one, And it has to do with littering and the Anti-Litter Act. I believe it's the Anti-Litter Act of 2015.
2015.
And the powers that it gives to police officers to enforce it, what the fines are, if you can be arrested for it, if the police has the power to enforce this law. And the argument was that they don't. But I'm learning that is actually not very correct. They actually do have the power to enforce the law to the full extent, if need be. And I think that a lot of people take for granted the fact that we have the street cleaners that can come through and, pick up things if we throw it on the ground, and take for granted that the garbage trucks gonna come by and they pick up stuff. And I think it's more about, it's not to me, it's not about the police having the authority to enforce, but the responsibility of us as citizens to ensure that we don't litter to begin with, so that the police doesn't even have to have any reason to enforce something like that, And we do a lot of littering in Grenada. That is a fact. It's a known fact. And I think that Grenadians need to be a lot more responsible with their litter. Maybe what they can do is lobby for more bins to be placed in more strategic places around the town, or find better ways in which they can manage the disposal of their garbage. But we do a lot of littering. That is definitely a fact.
Well, I think it is fair to say that we take for granted that we can just dispose of our waste anyway and anyhow. I have to admit that in recent years there has been some improvement. I mean, there are many people that are making the effort. They're doing better than they were doing before, as it relates to waste disposal, and we have to acknowledge that. I think the solid waste management is doing an excellent job with their programs, trying to always inform and educate people what and how they should deal with the waste. But the mere fact that the act is referred to as the anti-litter act, I think that speaks volume. It's unfortunate that you had that encounter and we didn't get the chance to research the act, to actually go online or to get a copy and to be able to quote specifically where in the act it speaks to the issue of the police officers. Now, I want to be very careful here. Maybe that individual may have cited the act, might have gone through it, probably not thoroughly enough. But I want to believe that there's some actions that the police can take, or the law gives a certain, within certain parameters, the privilege. Because I don't know how you can have an act in place and you will not be able to enforce it. And generally speaking, the Royal Grenada Police Force is the one used to, in most instances, not all, but in most instances, to do the enforcement. And I recall in recent times, there has been some attempt, there has been conversation around the issue of the traffic wardens being empowered at the same time to be litter wardens, meaning that while or to add to it and giving them additional responsibility to not only deal with the assistance of the traffic, but also deal with people who litter in ways that are unbecoming. Because we still see people. Only recently, a bus was traveling, and someone from that bus threw first a cup. I think it was a KFC cup, and then after some bags, plastic bags, and so while the vehicle was moving. Right? I can recall that there's some part of the act that gives a certain amount of responsibility to the driver of the vehicle that the litter would have been thrown from, that they would have to take and could be charged. I remember there was a lot of argument about that. But maybe it's something that we have to look at the law more thoroughly, research it, But I don't think it is true to say that the police doesn't have any authority. The level of authority that they have, I am not sure about from where I sit now. But I believe they do, and they can enforce. I mean, come on, if they can't, so can't someone just pull up in front of the police station or close to the police station and just empty off bags of garbage and drive out, you know? I don't think so. But one other point I want to make is that while sometimes in our country and at our level, we find it difficult to adjust, to make the changes, the transformation from what we knew and what we used to, what was traditional, into a better way. We leave Grenada and we travel to the metropolitan states. We go to the US, we go to England, we go to Canada, and instantly we transform because we learn and we know that if you drop something on the ground and you're seen, you can be charged, you can be ticketed. The taxi drivers will tell you as soon as you get in, if you're eating something that you cannot just open the window and throw those things out. And we have friends, we have relatives, we have people who come from abroad, people who we speak to all the time, and they speak about those issues. So let us consider our country, our homeland, as our safe haven. We call it pure Grenada. Let's keep it pure. Let's control the way in which we dispose of our litter. Stop just turning on the windows in our cars or in a public transport and just throw outside. We say, it's a sweetie paper. No. Doesn't matter how small it is. We should not be doing it. I mean, maybe many years ago I was guilty of the same fact. But nowadays, what do? I keep whatever I may consume in my vehicle or so. I have a little bag, a little plastic bag that I stuff everything into. And when I get to a bin or I get home, that's when I empty off my trash. And I think more of us should be practicing that and encouraging others, encouraging our friends, our relatives to practice the same. And gradually we are going to just make it natural to learn how to properly dispose of our waste. And we would not even have to worry about the police or any other enforcement arm because we would be adhering to the rules and to the regulations because it is the correct thing to do. To keep a clean and tidy environment, to make sure that our country, whether it's our backyard, our front street, or any part of Grenada, we should not do or encourage anyone to just litter or just throw stuff, to put garbage any and everywhere. Even the truck drivers, because there is also that issue where sometimes people hire, they pay a transport, a truck in most instances, to carry certain types of waste to the landfill, to the place where they can dump. And these people take the money, they charge you to do that. And the most convenient place, they think, where someone is not seeing them or where people don't visit that often, they will just dump it there. And that just cannot be the way in which we hope to continue to do things. We need to take pride in our country and take pride in keeping it clean and fresh and serene. The visitors love it, but they will soon dislike it if we continue to just litter any and everywhere without consideration.
So this is actually an appeal to Grenadians. I mean, I know that there are aspects of the Anti-Litter Act that has not yet been enforced, such as the environmental wardens. To the full extent. I mean, we have environmental wardens, but litter wardens in particular. And as I understand, moves are about to be made to ensure that not only police have the ability to enforce the laws, the anti-litter laws, but also the traffic wardens as well. It would give some powers to them also to ensure that they can keep the place clean. But it is not their duty to do that. It is their duty to ensure that they maintain the peace and stability of the country. But if they have to basically babysit us as Grenadians to ensure that we do every single thing that we know that we are responsible for doing anyway, then what is the point? You know, we don't have to have somebody running up and running behind us and picking up after us and telling us what we should and should not do when we absolutely know what we should and should not do. You know, I think it's a waste of time, and it's pulling us down more than building us up. We need to start focusing on the things that we can do to help Grenada grow faster than it's growing now. And as you correctly said, we don't want to follow the laws. We think the laws here are, some of us think that the laws here are silly laws and they shouldn't be enforced and all of these things. But then when we go out there in the wider world, we have to abide by the laws of the land in wherever we go. You know, so what makes it so hard for us to abide by the laws of the land in the country that we live in? You know, I mean, it's a sad situation, but we have to be mindful that Grenada is ours, and we have to keep preaching that Grenada belongs to us. It doesn't belong to a government. It doesn't belong to a system. It belongs to the people. And we must know what we want for our country. We must know where our country came from, where we are today, what is being done to improve it. We must learn to appreciate the things that have been done for our country. Because everything that's being done, no matter how small it is, it's a stepping stone that helps build our country, that helps take us to the place that we want to eventually reach at some point in time. So I'm really hoping that the people out there listening, that they're able to, even an officer, you can call and let us know what extent, what privileges do you have as an officer.
I think it's more what power rather than privilege.
But power, what powers as an officer do you have as it relates to litter? And of course, maybe it's time for us to start having that conversation with the Grenada Tourism Authority and Ministry of Tourism to find more suitable locations for placing bins throughout the city. You know, so people have an option. You're walking with something and you finish drink it and you have no way to throw it, you know. Maybe it's time to start having that kind of conversation. And even in the business sector, the private sector, they too can help, because they too can say, okay, I'm going to put 3 or 4 bins on this corner or that corner. It doesn't always have to be government. You know, we can also play an active role in ensuring that Grenada stays clean. But the onus is ultimately on us as a people to ensure that we do not litter. We can't say, well, the police didn't have no powers to litter, so I'm going to litter anyway. No, the conversation needs to be, I shouldn't be littering at all. Whether the police has power or not, it should be that I should not litter at all. So, remember, guys, it's open line. You can feel free to call in. It's 440-7377 for local calls, 440-7377 for WhatsApp messages, and 347-329-3101 for those of you in the diaspora that would like to give us a call. And we have our first caller for the morning. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, my dear sister Duncan. How do you do?
I'm good, Miss Jacob. How are you?
I'm good. And how was your weekend?
Oh, I had a great weekend. Yesterday I went to the beach and relaxed. Exams were finally over, so I thought it was absolutely necessary that I relax.
Right. And my beautiful, handsome. That's so handsome, eh? Oh, lad.
How are you, Miss Jacob?
Take him and run away with him.
No. I ain't letting nobody run away with me at all, Miss Jacob. I'm staying right here. I'm staying right here to share with Grenadians. That's the home, my homeland.
Calypsonian said, take anything you get and run away with it.
Yeah, well, he could say what he wants in his mouth. Yes, you have freedom, Mr. Keeler. Take something and run. Yes. You make waves in Trinidad with that.
I'm glad you all talking on that little act. Let me tell you something.
Yes.
I went in Jamaica.
Yes.
I went to Jamaica in 1998.
Yes.
And with the group I had, we worked together because we come from same pandemic.
Yeah.
So we worked together. So we see nobody. She said, oh God, I know something come up in Chichot. And she go on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
We just see the litter act. The man, we don't know where he come out. from if he hiding somewhere,
Yes.
just come up to her. Say, miss, what you do there is wrong. You have to pay 20 US, you know.
Yes.
Not Jamaica money, they tell him now.
20 years.
US. And you know who bail out? Me.
Yes.
Because why? She say, oh God, are you less change money? No, I is the only one that stand up. I say, I'm not changing my money.
Right.
I don't want Jamaica money.
Ah.
I want me US.
Right.
Please leave me with me US. Okay?
Mm.
So, Papa, when she think I out and I bill out. And up every time that lady come down, she all time giving me something.
Yeah, she come to look
Say,
for you.
oh,
She
God,
remember the
Jacob.
kindness.
Miss Jacob, all of us bigger than you. You had somebody elder than me, but I didn't take in on what they tell me.
Yeah.
I go change my money in Jamaica. Jamaica money don't have value.
We didn't have no value, no.
You have to get somebody to that going up there for you to spend it. When she reached on the airport, she couldn't change it.
Okay.
She couldn't change it. She said, one of them say, you see, you should have told Miss Jacob what Miss Jacob say. You should have told me what she said. I said, no, I'm not changing the money. I'm going with it. Just like that.
So it goes to show that everywhere you go in the world, people are concerned, countries are concerned about how we dispose of whatever waste we have.
Because of what you
Yeah.
have, just
Yeah.
to spit, you know.
Yes.
Much less if you pee in Grenada. I see people going on the side of the cars and them and they peeing on the ground there. In Grenada, telling you what they say. No, I see to me own eyes.
With your own eyes. Yes.
With
Yes.
somebody else now, it's time for we bring up that Akem and
Yeah.
don't get no Grenada, get US.
They must charge them in US. Miss Jacob, we hear you. But we're trying to, just encourage people. Don't let it reach to the stage where the police have to come to you, where you have to get a charge. I mean, let's just take it on ourselves and realize, hey, this is our homeland. This is our country. Let us keep it clean. Let us keep it tidy. Let us use a bin, And we can rally. If we think that there are not enough bins, we talk about it. We encourage the authorities to put more bins, whether it's in the town, in areas where people hang out on the beach, and we do whatever we can to make sure our country stays clean and proper.
I walk in with my garbage bag. I walk in with a garbage bag. Sometimes I walk with 2 garbage bags.
Yes.
When I go in town, I have a plastic bag in my bag.
Right.
So anybody by me have anything, I say, put it in that plastic bag.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go in, I say, she say yes. Because somebody and the boss go want to put something in it.
Okay.
So, and then when she reach home, she said, Miss Jacob, thank you very much for what you do this.
Right.
Walking with my bag. In my bag.
So you're leading by example.
Yes.
And that is good.
Well, that is in school.
Right.
In school. Bits of paper. You remember that?
Lying on the floor. Pick them up. It makes the place untidy.
That's right.
Yes. We probably need to bring that back in school. I don't know. Maybe they still do. Maybe they still sing that. But that was something we had to sing every single day.
Every day.
So you are reminded that you don't just throw things any and everywhere. And if the children know it, they can say it to the parents and they can remind them. Yes? So maybe one day when my voice is good, I can sing it on air so people will hear. Yes, Miss Jacob. We are happy to talk to you every day. We're glad that you're our first caller this morning, but we continue the conversation. Today's open line. So everybody can call and make their contribution, not just on what we're speaking about now, but if there are other issues, they can talk about it.
God bless you all and have a wonderful day.
You have a blessed one too, Miss Jacob. Take care, and I hope that your week and your Christmas season will be wonderful.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, the responsibility is ours, guys. It's not the government. We can blame the government for a lot of things, but sometimes we have to point a couple fingers back at ourselves too. And this morning, of course, we know that the road in Molyneux has been blocked off so that the work can continue to find the most suitable solution for the issue. And last week we had the minister speaking about it, what the possible resolutions may be, but as of now, it's quite uncertain as to what's going to happen because they need to drill to verify if a wall can be sustained in that area at all. If the houses and its residents, the residents need to move from the area, if a new road needs to be cut or whatever it may be. But as it stands right now, we're still kind of uncertain as to what needs to happen. But nonetheless, we are still grateful for the fact that no lives been lost
Thus far.
and I mean, we are definitely grateful for that. Better late than never, And the traffic this morning, I'll tell you this, because I live right in the heart of Mount Morris, and I'll tell you, it was tough. It was tough. I mean, you had vehicles coming from St. George, going through Jones Road to the back and coming out in Happy Hill. And then you had vehicles coming down on the western coast, coming through that little road we call Monnier, that takes us through Mount Morris again and down to St. George. So it's definitely going to work itself out eventually. I see it working itself out. It's just a call to all of the drivers in the area. And this is for me as a parent, because I personally got a little nervous when I heard that the vehicles were to pass through Mount Morris, because I know that in that community, we're a bit close-knit. And the children are comfortable playing in the road and these kinds of things, because we're not accustomed to very heavy traffic through the area. It's something, of course, that we need to get our children, or if not yet, get them prepared for dealing with that. But it's also an appeal to the drivers, the motorists passing through the area, to kind of take your time. I saw a picture of one vehicle went down into the drain, just slipped off the side of the road down into a drain. And it's just about being patient, basically. I mean, it's not going to work instantly on the first day, but we have to give it time. I see that it will work out fine in the end, but we just have to be a little bit patient, because Mount Morris Road is kind of narrow, a lot of narrow spots and whatever. And even though we do have the officers from the RGPF there guiding the traffic, it still doesn't mean that we could just race through the place. Take all the time a little bit as a concerned parent, in the area. But hopefully it's not going to be for too long, and we get the issue resolved as quickly as possible, not just for the motorists, but for the people in the area as well, because I'm really concerned about their structures and what will happen in the end as it relates to where they live. So we'll see what happens there, but I'm happy that the issue is being worked on. It's being worked on. It's a costly issue, but nonetheless being worked on. And I heard a lot of people talking about, this needs to be done and that needs to be done. And there is a lot to be done. A lot of things pop up. Every now and again you hear about a road breaking or something happening, something that needs dealing with, some urgent matter that pops up. And we have to ask ourselves the question, where the money coming from? That is the ultimate question. Where does government get its money to do all of the things that need doing in Grenada to make it a better place? So we always have to ask ourselves that question. Where does government get that money from?
Taxes, number one. Mm-hmm. Grants, number two. Loans, sometimes, number three. So it tells us clearly that as citizens, we need to be compliant with the inland revenue rules. We know what the taxes are. We know those we have to pay. We know those that we collect for those who are in business on behalf of government, like the VAT, that needs to be remitted or submitted to the government through the Inland Revenue Division, so that monies can always be available to do the regular things, the recurrent things, but also to do some of the things that would pop up, like what we're seeing in Molyneux. We have been planning, government has always been planning for land slippages, because sometime now they were told that that entire western coast is under stress and they can't see, and there will be land slippages that will take place. But opposed to how some people behave and say that, oh, well, in Marlin, 5 years ago they could have fixed. No, that is not so true. Not at all. What is happening now is something very sudden.
Yeah.
Something that has been activated.
Yeah.
We don't know what caused it to, and that's why so much tests, has to be done.
Yeah.
The geotechnical work must be done. You have to bring in the people with the ability and the skills and the tools to drill and to look at it, to explain to government whether there will be further slippages and whether they would be as bad as it is now or even worse. And that is why the options that are on the table is whether or not a wall, a retaining wall, is the suitable thing. And we can't just look at it and say, oh, just build a wall and it will hold that. Because if you're having soil movement, serious soil movement, especially from deep down, from underneath, how far down can you put the foundation of the wall?
Exactly.
Right? So if the land is slipping underneath the foundation of the wall, it will still go. It will slip out.
Yeah.
Does it mean moving all of the residents to a different place? Because if that is declared a danger zone, all right? But though the assessment must be done. Or the third option, you may have to cut a completely new road. So the assessments are being done now. They're being looked at. Consultants are there. Engineers are there. And it is simply because the government has been putting things in place. That's why they could have moved in so quickly to bring in consultants and bring in engineers. Yes? And of course, you need them to do their studies, do their assessment, and then put the facts before the government. And when they do, then we'd know what can happen thereafter. So it's not a reactive thing.
So it's really very important for us to understand the importance of planning. I mean, planning is definitely a very important tool. It's not just about saying that, okay, government needs to do this and government needs to do that, or this needs to be done this way or this needs to be done that way, or it's more about having plans in place in the event something happens. So some people might say, well, what government putting away money for a storm for? What, we expecting storm to happen? No. But you have to always expect the unexpected, and always put plans, strategic plans in place so that when something happens, it doesn't just hit you, like a bombshell. If government hadn't been planning, then they would not have been able to address that issue in Molineux so quickly and find ways in which they can deal with it. So planning is very important. Now, I do have a notice here that I think it's very important for us to read, and it says, pensioners who have not yet submitted their life certificates are asked to do so immediately so that their pension payments can be processed. Kindly ensure that the correct information is included on the life certificate and that it is signed and stamped by an official certifier. A justice of the peace, medical practitioner, minister of religion, barrister of law, or permanent secretary. Additionally, pensioners who are able to present themselves in person to the Ministry of Finance can have their certificates certified by the permanent secretary or deputy permanent secretaries with proper national identification, such as a passport, driver's license, or voter's registration card. Pensioners residing in a foreign country are to be attested by a notary public, head of overseas mission or consulate office of Grenada. And I think that needs to be done, and that's certificates for the period 1st of January to 30th of June. 2020 is the 31st of December. So the deadline is the 31st of December. And I think this is a mechanism, just to ensure that you are still alive to collect
still
your
on
pension.
earth breathing. Because they need to know. That's why it's called a life certificate. They need to know that you're alive, that when they process payment, it's going to a person that can utilize it and not someone that has gone to the great beyond. Hopeful that not much. I think the NIS does something similar to where annually you need to provide a life certificate once you are a recipient of
a pension
and things like that. So
so that's good, and then we know that the pensioners that are public servants would receive their top up to 70%, which is absolutely wonderful. I know a lot of people right now are smiling, because there are people out there tired and definitely in need of this top up.
It's your government at work.
Government at work. We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Hello, caller. Good morning. No, it seems like we've lost that call. All right. Remember, guys, it's Open Line Monday. Feel free to give us a call at 440-7377 for all local calls, 440-7377 for WhatsApp calls, and, of course, 347-329-3101 for those of you in the diaspora wishing to give us a call. All right. So, Mr. Bola, there are so many things that we need to look forward to for the year 2020. In breaking down the budget, doing a little bit of an analysis to see exactly what to expect. And, of course, we know that this government is committed to ensuring the needs of all of the Grenadian people are met, and, of course, to create an enabling environment for further development of the country. And that is the most important role of government, to ensure that an enabling environment is created for further development. We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller. I don't know what seems to be happening there, but we seem to be losing that call. All right. But that's their job, to ensure that there is an enabling environment so that Grenada can prosper, so that the people can prosper, so that it can influence economic growth, so that it can influence investment, to kind of facilitate that development. So we have a lot of things to look forward to. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, good. I was trying to ask a few questions to Mr. Bula, please.
Okay.
Go right ahead. I'm
Hello?
listening, sir. Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you use the person use the right person now to ask the question. I heard through the grapevine the Gramba estate in the future they will look into to do some model farm and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And being as you was the past agriculture minister,
Mm-hmm.
and so on, and you was the one who involved in trying to listen to the people of the people that are incarcerated during the revolution time.
Mm-hmm.
During your time, they had at least a part of the estate for these people and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And now I hear through the grapevine like they're trying to do some of the same thing with some different farmers and poultry farmers and them thing and them like that.
Okay.
But,
so that's question one. What is question two?
No, I just place that question to you and
okay.
In terms of your take, your experience in terms of like model farm. I just want to give my
okay, go ahead.
my views.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the experience I see in model farm, like if you look at the Paradise Estate
Mm-hmm.
and the some of the like the Maribor Estate and the Springs Estate and so on, most of they give out most of the lands and things to farmers like for them to do the little short crop and so on. But you must notice most of that model farm don't live up to standard. Because you passing through that area every day, Paradise area, and you could see some of that lands and thing in Big Bush and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the experience where you just give these people and in a part of the Gramba Estate, they grow down some cocoa trees there, and they didn't. I think it was about 20 years they had listed for.
Don't remember exactly how long, but
and they didn't last as much as 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that alone to tell you, most of the people, I don't know if like they going into that thing, maybe to get concession from the government, maybe to buy a van or whatsoever. And as soon as they settle down in getting this concession and so on, or they pay back for the van or whatsoever. They just leave the lands abandoned. But my real take is when you hear you grow down this primary crop, this traditional crop, like cocoa and so on, and you spend maybe about 2-3 years and plant a little tomato and cabbage and so on, right? And after that, you just leave the place abandoned and so on. So there is a whole detriment of like we traditional crop. And if you notice, we have about 4 to 5 cocoa factory now, right? And I think in my advice to the government, we should try to maintain or try to increase our traditional crop like cocoa and nutmeg. Because if you take an example from Carriacou, they don't really have the rum factory operational as yet exactly. But the way they go about it is planting canes so they could sustain the factory. And being as, you know, we're doing that for such a long time, we have actually about 4 to 5 factories now, and the big one in St. Mark's. We should make sure that we don't have a scarcity of cocoa and so on. We should maintain our traditional crop, because if you notice, way long before, when we didn't have no factory at all, we did have more cocoa. And now I notice a lot of people cutting down cocoa and so on to plant short crops and thing, and that is not so sustainable. So we should try to sustain the factory that we have, and by making sure, and government should have that policy, by making sure we keep with traditional crop and we could maintain that cocoa factory, and then we don't just go hunting for cocoa to sustain the factory. Because about a year ago, I think government had us to bail out the same factory either $100,000. I don't know if it's to buy raw material or whatsoever.
Yeah, it was more than that. It was far more than 100,000.
Yeah, government shouldn't fall in that trap again. Make sure that if to say the factory need the raw material to produce, make sure we have at least an estate like government should have an estate like a model farm, maybe a 2 or 3 estate. So like if foreigners come and you have to show them, you know, give them a sample of what government intend to do, and you know, government setting the example to the other farmers. Government should maintain in that estate, because Grenada estate is not a hard estate to maintain. You have 2 rivers pass through it and so on, and it's just a matter you need a pump and thing. And I find it's really hard to see these crops and like cocoa and nutmeg. You're cutting them down, and when you go and you plant a tomato and cabbage and so on, it don't last in long. I mean, I don't have no problem in fellas doing that, but government should give support to people who have like they own farm, you know, and so on to do these things. But don't use government land, and in the space of 5 years, you see the land end up in big bush, and you take down crop that makes sense, what could support the factory. So if we take a good example from Carriacou, we could do the same thing to maintain our factory, because we don't want to go in that same thing where you see the importing things like cattle and so on, right?
Okay.
And importing, it could be a real detriment. I mean, I can't find the right word for it, but for we to importing cocoa.
I think I get the gist of what you say.
So
of what you're saying.
I think my real thing is to see government keep the estate.
Yeah.
And instead of paying farmers to cutlass their own land, you could pay the same farmers to maintain the estate. And even though you don't get much profit from it, but so long as the estate could pay the farmers and you could sustain the factory, I think that is my whole take about it.
Right.
Because when you pay small farmers, most of the time government don't get back nothing. But if you pay the farmers to work the estate, you could actually get back our traditional crop, maintain our traditional crop, and so on. You know?
Okay. Well, there are a couple of things that I must say from all that you said. You said a lot, and I get the gist of what you're saying. You basically want to see whatever lands government still own that are productive, that government keep it and keep it productive. So and that's a fine way of looking at it and saying it. But there are some inaccuracies also. One, during the time that I was the Minister for Agriculture, yes, that's when the Gambara estate was listed out. But it wasn't me listing it. It was a government decision. It was cabinet who had to, the people applied. There was a committee that was made up of it was chaired, I know, by Minister Steele at the time, Simon Steele, but there were several other people outside of government on the committee. You had farmers, you had extension officers, you had people from the same Cocoa Association, and so that made up that committee, the business sector, and they came up with the proposal, and it was listed. It failed, and we have to accept that. So it was not Roland Bowler per se. I supported it, yes, as minister, because we thought it was going to bring greater production. The other thing is the chocolate factories. There are about 4 or 5 of them operating, as you say, and you made a particular reference to the one in St. Mark's, the Diamond, which is owned and operated by the Grenada Cocoa Association. Now, the Cocoa Association is, I don't want to say it's a parastatal organization. It's a body that the farmers themselves select with people who are supposed to take control and assist in the development of the industry. And while, yes, government has a role to play because government has representation on the board, I think there are 3 representatives that are selected by government to be on the board. It's a body that has its own power, right? So you don't rely on government. The other thing I want to say to you, and I'll get back to the point about government trying to maintain its estates. Grenada, as compared to all of the other Caribbean islands, has the most private landowners. So in other words, the state, the government in and of itself, owns very little, a very small percentage of the lands in Grenada. We have the most private landowners in the Eastern Caribbean. There are countries that are far bigger than Grenada. Most of the lands are owned by the state. Or you have a few people who own a lot of the lands. But there are a lot of small owners, acre, half acre, 5 acres, plenty people. So it will take more than just a few government estates being cultivated with traditional crops like cocoa and nutmeg to maintain and keep the production going. We need all of the small farmers who have the little half acre, the 2 acre, the 5 acres to maintain as well. And that is where the government assistance comes in. So you were saying it is better for the government to use the money and work the estates as opposed to assisting the small farmers. Government could never produce on the estates that they have the amount that the smaller farmers can produce. Yeah. So they need the assistance. What I would add to that is that it needs to be better managed, more tightly managed, because you have some areas of leakages, some areas of wastage, but it's not that the programs are bad. So, for example, as we speak, through the Marketing and National Importing Board, there is fertilizer for sale, 110 pounds in a bag at $50. Because this is fertilizer that the government was able to negotiate and get from the Kingdom of Morocco as an assistance to farmers. So it was contributed to us. But we had to pay, the government had to pay to ship it, to transport it, and then to bring it to storage. That is why fertilizer like that, the ratios that they're selling, that would sell for $140 or $150 a bag in the private agricultural shops are being sold to farmers at $50. It's another way of government assisting to say you must stay in production, you must continue to work your land. Yeah. There is the farm labor program. So you know, government is trying, and they need to continue to do that. Yeah. Tighten it up a bit, I say. But yes, the estates, they keep it, and they are under government control. And the last thing I want to say about what the caller said is that I am not aware that government is preparing to create model farms on the estates. I am not aware. If you said you heard it through the grapevine, that news has not reached me as yet. I can investigate, I can make a call, I can find out, but I do not know for a fact that they're preparing to do that. There are some other things about the model farms that he spoke about. I'd like to give my piece, but I think there might be a caller or somebody else on the line. Yes. So let's take them. Let's and take then I'll... Yes.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Duncan.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing extremely well. And a
great.
pleasant morning to you, Mr. Bowler, and
Well-
to our dear listening audience.
Yes, a pleasant morning to you too. And I know you're doing well because I saw you walking through Grenville this morning. You didn't see me. You look well. You look healthy.
All right. Oh, okay. So that was even that past me. Now, well, the issue with Grandma Estate and the other estates, that was not grapevine talk.
Yes.
Because the Prime Minister did address these estates in the budget presentation.
Okay.
Yeah. And model farms, in my opinion, is not a bad thing, despite the fact that it does not have any background in that field.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad thing. The problem does arise because of a lack of checks and balances.
Mm-hmm.
That is where I believe our problem comes in. And it is quite evident when you look at that piece of land right by Paradise Bridge,
Yes.
where I believe it is, the most you can get out of it is what we call 5 fingers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that must not happen. Now, Mr. Bola, looking at what is taking place presently now in terms of the toys distribution,
Mm-hmm.
and people must understand is the thought and appreciation. It may not be what you wanted, but is the thought to make sure that no child get left behind.
Yes.
So what is taking place is meeting the parents halfway. The child may not get what he or she really wanted, but the fact that people can meet you halfway, it means that you can do a little bit more for your child around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say here, sir, I went to play bingo last night. As usual, I lost.
Your winning day will come soon, man.
Well, I won on 3 occasions before already, so I have a reason to be there.
Okay, great.
But I see a developing trend. I know Megaforce Promotion is not going to tolerate or encourage it, and we need to stop it once and for all. Stop it immediately, nip it in the bud.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the amount of underage children. And I said children. I saw one where they had a prom for he or she last night.
Yeah.
And if something untoward was to happen, and these children would have also get injured in a place where they're not supposed to be, where they have no business, the parents or the guardian will be held fully accountable. And sometimes we as parents might not like, the consequences that such persons will have to face.
Mm-hmm.
But now, let me quickly get into my main point here. Now, Mr. Fowler, the enemies of progress and the enemies of the state are saying to us, this government have not performed. Now, yes, it's Christmas, but let us look at some statistics here. One, when the NDC was in office, Mr. Bowler, unemployment was 40%. Under this government, it's 15%.
Mm-hmm.
Our credit worthiness was negative. Today, it's positive. Our debt to GDP ratio under the NDC was 108%. Today, it's about 55%. The monthly deficit under the NDC was $18 million. Today, we're paying our bills on time and we're working with a surplus.
Mm-hmm.
Under the NDC, less scholarship. Under the NNP, more scholarship. Under the NDC, housing units to our people was 0. Under the present government, over 640 units will be distributed in a timely manner. Most of our labor-related grievances are well on its way to being addressed in an amicable way. We now have the National Health Insurance well on its way in terms of the necessary work being done to make sure that when it's rolled out, it is rolled out in the proper way. We are also completing the second phase of our hospital. We are meeting our monthly commitments in a timely manner. And the government has settled all outstanding debt that the NDC was not able to address, especially the over $140 million that was owed to our local merchants, farmers, and those that provided the goods and services to the NDC. Mm-hmm. So tell me this, Mr. Bowler, tell me this, Ms. Duncan, that this government have not performed. To tell me that this government have not performed or did not perform is telling me that Maurice Bishop, Tupac Shakur, and Biggie Small is not dead, but they are hiding and residing somewhere in Africa. Miss Duncan and Mr. Bola, I thank you for the time, and I trust you all will have a pleasant day and enjoy the rest of the holiday.
Thank you.
Well, we really wish you a pleasant day as well. Hope that the rest of your week and your holiday season will be fantastic. I think that's a nice way to put it, but there are several other issues that he did not even mention. The fact that he talked about over $140 million being paid and to local businesses. There was a time under the NDC when local businesses would not do business with government.
Yeah.
Because they were owed so much money and not being paid.
Yeah.
The NNP came in, and paid it in 2013 and beyond. But more than that, a company like Nawasa, where millions of dollars was owed because the government was not paying Nawasa for any services that they did for them. This government has paid Nawasa out and is current. NIS, where they were actually collecting and deducting the NIS from the salaries of the workers, was not remitted to the NIS.
Yeah.
This government has paid it off and bring it up to date. Several properties that they sold to the NIS or had the NIS acquire and pay money so that they can get to pay salaries on a monthly basis. That was not belonging to the government. This present government came and offset that, paid back the NIS for the monies, give back properties and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So, when you say as an NDC supporter or official that this government is not performing, then you must check your facts. You must go back, as the caller said. And we can go in to talk in depth about so many other things, the unemployment dropping and everything else that is happening, and we don't really want to go into that today. But I did say before we took the call that there were a few things about the model farms that I wanted to say, which I didn't, and the caller touched on one of those, is that I don't necessarily believe that the model farm idea was a bad idea. I think what would have happened is that the people who were given the lands were not prepared. Because you see, what happened is that a lot of these estates were subdivided and the workers on the estates were provided with portions of land. Now, you can be an excellent worker under supervision. When you have someone supervising you, you're being measured out a task to do, or you're told to construct a drain, so on and so place. You work excellent. And some of these people were given lands with the belief that since they are that good as workers, that they are also good as managers. Yeah. And I think that's where the breakdown was. They didn't have a support system. They were not necessarily good managers, so they harvest, they reap, they sold, they didn't put back into the land, they didn't prepare for the rainy day. So a lot of these lands become abandoned because they had to eventually give up the land to go to find a job elsewhere to sustain themselves and their family. Now there's a better support system in that the government has budgeted and is putting money into the development bank, the GDB, that small business people can access. Yeah. There's a better support system where they would help you to plan, to do projections, to tell you what it may be profitable to do and how best to do it. So the support system that is necessary is there. So I really do hope that some of those who failed before may want to give it a second chance because they do have lands available to them. And then there's another case where some of the lands that people got, they had to pay for it. And you have some of these people who probably with the assistance of relatives or friends or whatever funding they had would have completed their payments. So now it is their lands really.
Right.
And whether they choose to walk it or not, you really can't enforce it. So maybe in future, if there's going to be any program like that again, there must be some caveat in the law that says these lands must be kept under cultivation or something.
Yeah.
That if you breach that, even if you paid for the land, government can move in and probably pay you back your money and transfer it to someone who is more interested in farming or who wants to be in farming and sustain. Because our primary products have done well for us. I mean, look, I don't know the value in dollars and cents of our sales of cocoa and nutmeg this year. But one of the things that was mentioned that I took note of is that for soursop, for example, over the last year, some $13 million in US is what we receive from the sale of soursop. So I'm saying our primary products does well for us. The farmers can make a living from it. But we need to sustain, we need to maintain, we need to improve in areas of weaknesses, we need to get higher levels of productivity. And all of those things take time, takes training, and takes determination. But I think if we do it right, we can get it right.
Absolutely.
And we can do better. So I'm not condemning the idea of model farms. I'm just saying that if you just do it in a vacuum, without having good support system, without having a financial package that people can draw from to help and improve on what they do, and can plow monies into the business, we could see failure. And maybe the way in which we work out the titles. So some people pay, or they work for a while, they make the money, they pay off government, and they say, that's my land, that's my 5-acre block. Now I can do what I want with it. But I think we need to keep a lot of those lands under cultivation. So we have to find a way to do it differently, do it better.
Yeah. I mean, last week I spent some time talking about a comment that was made towards agriculture. And it's sad to see that we're still in a place where people believe that a lot of the things that should happen through government. Yeah. You know, when that's not the case. We all have a role to play. We must all hold ourselves accountable for a lot of things that happen in Grenada, a lot of things that don't happen in Grenada. We must hold ourselves accountable because the government can provide whatever measures and means by which agriculture is funded and pump as much money as they want into getting agriculture back on its feet. But at the end of the day, it is up to the people interested in doing agriculture to really utilize what is the resources that government is making available to them. You know, I can tell somebody, well, you know, you want to be a farmer, fine. I'll provide you with the land. I'll provide you with the workload. I'll give you a discount on fertilizer. I'll give you a discount on buying the crops and so on. And then 10 years down the line, that person decides, well, I don't want to do agriculture anymore. 5 years down the line, the person decides, I don't want to do agriculture anymore. There's nothing government can do to prevent something like that. It's just as the saying goes, you can bring the water to the horse, but you can't make it drink, you know? So we have to hold ourselves accountable for a lot of the things that happen and be more responsible as Grenadians. But as the caller before would have said, and this is something I've been battling with for a while, I feel like as Grenadians, we're not very appreciative. We don't have that appreciative spirit, some of us, you know, because government can do all that they can. We still never find it enough. But apart from not finding it enough, we don't know how to say thank you, you know, for the little that they do. With the toy distribution, it is not the responsibility of the parliamentary representatives to do something like that, you know. They saw the need for it to be done. And as such, they took it upon themselves to ensure that at Christmas, at least, a child in the most unfortunate situation can have something to be jolly about for Christmas. But you find instances where parents without gratitude would come and make noise. This is not what they want. And can they get something different? And this is no good. And I mean, it's a very sad situation when we are not grateful as a people for even the little that is done. And it's time for us to come out of that place, because nobody does anything simply because they can or simply because they have to. They have to want to do it in order for it to be done, and for it to be done properly. So I mean, it's on us for as a people to try and change the narrative. Get to a place where we are grateful. Yes, we want better healthcare. Yes, we want better education. Yes, we want better roads. But we have to admit first and be grateful for the fact that we are no longer at a place where we're driving on dirt road. We are no longer at a place where you have to go and sit down in the hospital and you can't get this and you can't get that and you can't get the other. I mean, in some cases, you still may not be able to get a lot of things, but we are at a better place than where we were before. And for that, we must be grateful. So I feel like we are not grateful enough as a people. But we have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to you, Mr. Duncan, Mr. Bola. Hello?
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Well, I don't know if there is anything left that I can say after listening to you all and some of the callers that would have called. Nevertheless, if you would allow me just to make an announcement. This Thursday, the 19th of December, the NNP support group from St. Patrick's West constituency, polling division number 6, right? We'll be having our annual Christmas tree lighting and the giving of refreshments to the kids. We have been doing that a number of years now, and we are going to continue with it, right? So, as I said, this Thursday, we'll be
polling
having our
division
Christmas tree
6
lighting and the giving of toys to the kids. And that will take place right at West End. Most of the people from the area are familiar with West End, where West End is located.
Yeah, but
around the Monk River roundabout.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Tell us
West
the
End,
village.
Just around the Monk River roundabout. Right. So and on the 20th and on the 21st, Saturday, right, this Saturday as well, we'll be giving out our annual hampers to some of the disadvantaged or the most
needed, yes.
We might not be able to give everybody, but we look at the most needed cases, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and we give out hampers, and we also have been doing that for a number of years. So we go around, we give, the hampers and so on, we dish out hampers. And we try to give somebody or the people something meaningful. After all, it's Christmas, it's the season of, sharing and, and giving and, and so on. So we normally do that. In respect to some current affairs now, some issues, national issues, and as it relates to health, and a lot of the time we hear a lot about health, and a lot of criticism sometimes come from our own people. And sometimes I question whether we take time off to analyze our own situation. And I'm not trying to in any way say that there isn't room for improvement in our hospital and in our health centers, etc., etc. But we have a situation, for example, where people with chronic diseases, and I'm speaking from the point of view of knowing now, I'm speaking from facts, right? That some of our people who are suffering from maybe chronic diseases, maybe diabetes, hypertension, etc., etc., who have been counseled and have been advised by the doctors, nurses,
health professionals,
professionals, nutritionists and health professionals, as to how they could manage the condition. In many cases, the conditions could be manageable, right? And if we manage it carefully, properly, we could put less strain on the health facility. Because I've been told of people who have been going back to the hospital time and time again. And when they ask them, did you take a medication? Did you do what you were advised to do?
Yeah.
No. And we go and we put strain on the system, and then we turn around and we criticize and we condemn. As I said in the past, there are situations that I think should be managed by, the administration of the hospital, the hospital administration. Maybe there might be different aspects to the administration. But for example, if you might have a doctor on call. I think I would have mentioned that in time past. And so you have a doctor on call. So I would expect that doctor on call will be able to be available within a short call. Not, for example, you go in the 2 o'clock in the morning, and when it was at 5, 6, the doctor just coming in. That is, in my opinion, it's unacceptable.
Yep.
And are we going to blame the politicians or the government for this?
Yeah.
Come on. Or you have an X-ray machine in not the General Hospital, the other hospital, Princess Alice, for example. The machine is functional, right? But you have a doctor on call, but you do not have a technician on call. Are we going to blame? I mean, so we have to put proper system in place to deal with the situation, right? And to not make it look as bad or worse than it really is. Because if, for example, you have a doctor on call and you still didn't have a technician out, and based on the condition that goes to the hospital, they might still have to refer the case to the General Hospital. So
Yeah.
I think we could do things differently. We have to come together to build Grenada, you know.
Absolutely.
I've heard the leader of the NDC, the newly elected leader of the NDC, talking about we cannot, if we want any good thing, we have to be a united Grenada. We have to unite our people. But I mean, it's ironical that he's saying that, and this is what is needed to be done. This is what we need to do. But sometimes, you know, we go about preaching division and hatred and spite. You know, I don't know if it's due to envy or jealousy or whatever the case might be. But I am saying that we have to come together as a people and to build Grenada. The change or the changes that we want to see here in Grenada, we have to be part of that change. We have
Absolutely.
to make this
From
thing
within.
work.
Yeah.
The partisan politics is hot in this country too badly, too much. You know, and for no reason, sometimes people just get into a tirade of just saying, misinforming people and just, and a whole, spreading propaganda and misinformation, disinformation, and trying to mislead people and turn people's minds away.
But-
The leader of the NDC, she said that the 2020 budget does not address the issues affecting poor people. And I really wonder whether she would have listened to the budget. But you know something? I was going around, and I am the person who go around, and I interact with many people that come across my path. And many people were saying to me that they have not heard the NDC response to the budget, right?
Yeah.
So I thought they couldn't let time run out, and they didn't say something. So she said that the budget does not address the issues of the people. And she said that the budget did not say where would the $786.2 million, right, revenue projected, how would that money be generated? And a number of other things. She spoke about investors' confidence, but whether after listening to the representative of the private sector in the Senate, Senator
Diali.
I am convinced that I'm not sure whether the leader of the opposition, of the NDC knows exactly what he's saying, because during his presentation, he referred to three things: a stable economy, so stability. He spoke of stability. He also speaks of the government being able to meet its commitments, monthly commitments on time. And he said, what better does the private sector expect than to be paid on time?
Yep.
After they would have rendered their
goods and services,
and so on. And he spoke about investors' confidence. He said there is a lot of confidence, so investors have confidence in what is happening, in the economy. So I don't know where, I don't know who would have advised her or how they are looking at things. But at this point in time, I think we are doing well. But as I say, our people, for this thing to work and try to work well, and for us to receive the maximum benefit, our people have to be part and parcel of it, right?
Good.
And I've seen a situation where we could save a lot of things, wastage, people just negligent and people just doing their own thing, and a lot of things that we have to address. Not
fine things that we need to tighten up a bit on.
Eh?
I said there are some fine things that we need to tighten up a bit on.
Yes.
We need to have stricter supervision and things like that.
Even solid waste, for example, I think solid waste is doing an excellent job. But I've seen situations where, and the trucks, they are punctual. And when it comes to the garbage collection from households and so on, they do a very fine job. But just as the truck would have left just an hour after that, you see people tying up the garbage, the stuff and so on, going down the road, and they just throw
Yep.
it in a drain, throw it over the bridge,
Yep.
the river, and so on. Are you going to blame politicians for that or government for that? We have to change our behavior. We have to do better than that. We have to do better than that.
Yep.
You know?
There's one thing I want to ask you though before you run out, because I heard you mention the leader of the opposition saying we must
About?
come together to make sure that things happen well. And I think that's a good call. But wasn't that the same leader at her maiden speech when she was elected down at the south of the island in Grenada, who called on people to stand up and demonstrate and things like that and bring out placards and so? I hope I'm wrong, but I thought somewhere along the line I heard that came from her.
Yeah, I mean, even some of the allegations, for example, the last time this Al Jazeera report.
Yeah.
And when I heard the former Prime Minister
Yes.
and leader of the NDC, I mean, I couldn't. I mean, up to now, I shared this with many, and many persons have shared that with me as well. I look at Mr. Thomas's countenance, and I look at his reaction. Well, it's the usual Mr. Thomas.
Yeah.
People don't know him.
Yes,
He's
yes.
in the usual crabby kind of
Yes.
excited, irritated, you know.
Very
way and so on.
irritated,
And
very
with
unprofessional.
serious allegations and accusing the cabinet, you know, of collective theft, you know. You know.
He wasn't statesman-like at all, although they tried to prove that he's the best and most, peaceful man as a
You
leader.
know, this kind of sanctimonious politicians, this
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah,
people that
yeah.
gives the impression, these Pharisees and so on, I call them. I don't want to judge anybody, but yeah, definitely sanctimonious and they're Pharisees in nature. They just give that impression, like just a face,
Well, my bro,
It's a
we
facial
can
thing,
we can go on and talk a lot of things, but I think what is effective for us is what we have been doing in terms of trying to improve the lives of Grenadians. I think the budget was wonderful. We need to continue to push the positive. Those of us who understand what needs to be done must lead by example. Always speak the truth to our people, and I keep saying to people, whether it's from me or anyone else, when you hear a statement, verify. Don't just go about spreading things that may well be very, very
and I love to
mixed
do that. For
and-
example, Saturday gone, a young man, I heard him, and I said, listen to me, I'm sorry to intervene here, to interject here, but I cannot leave you go ignorant like this. I cannot just have you living in ignorance, because he was
Yes.
saying a number of things, and he really did not understand
Yes.
what he was saying. So I had to enlighten him and the people he was speaking to. I had to put things in perspective,
Right.
because he really did not understand what he was saying.
Yes,
But he was
yes.
spreading propaganda and misinformation and disinformation and that kind of thing.
With people like you, if we get a few more who can always help to correct, and we don't have to be angry about it, because
No.
some people are being misled, some people are being told and given certain information on purpose to go out there to discredit the administration, to discredit certain individuals. And it is people like us who knows better that needs to tell people what the facts are. And they can get an opportunity, and we can lead them to the source where they can verify what they're saying.
Absolutely.
That
And
will help to
am
make Grenada a
prepared
better
to
place.
play that too, and that's what I'm doing.
Thank you so much.
I really don't want people to go about being ignorant, because when I hear people talk like that, I say, come on, if people who have the facts and who know better, they will laugh at you.
Yes.
And I don't want it to be laughed at. So let me help you to understand. Let's put things in perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's look at the economy, and let's look at ask him, did you hear the private sector representative in the Senate? No, he didn't have time to listen. I said, well, you're saying things that that are not factual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not propaganda. You might have heard somebody, a hater of maybe Dr. Mitchell and the NNP and the government, and so on. And you're just following suit. You're just helping them with the propaganda. So I think I would have enlightened him, and I think he would have, he would have accepted a lot of the things that I was trying to explain to him.
Great.
And
Great.
so on.
Great. So you have done your part and continue. I want to encourage you and encourage your friends and others to just do likewise. At the end of the day, when it comes down to an election, people would have their choices to make, and so be it. But for now, we need to continue to work together to push this country to make life better for us and for the next generation, because they will not forgive us if we do not try to do what's correct, so that they can have a better life.
Yeah, and I'm committed to this.
We really thank you for your contribution, not just to this program, but whatever you're doing. I hope that the rest of your day will be a very good one, and that your week will be productive. And please try to have an enjoyable Christmas season.
Same to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. The caller is right. We definitely need to start working together as a people and put aside the party politics and the color war that we've been having.
But we've been calling for that time and time
Yeah.
again. I mean, the whole issue of reconciliation and forgiving your brother for what wrong he may have done to you is something that Dr. Mitchell, as leader and as Prime Minister, has been calling for
a long
ages.
time.
Yes? So
Yeah.
I think if others are ready to make that move, make that quantum leap, we appreciate that and we welcome them to
And
come
you know,
on board.
some people may be very skeptical to correct. As the gentleman said, he would have corrected somebody before for some misconception that they may have had. But there are other cases where you try to correct, and simply because that person doesn't support your party or doesn't support the prime minister, they just feel like nothing you say should be right. You know, even if the information that you are giving to them is correct information, they just feel like it shouldn't be right. We have another call on the line. Good morning, caller. Hello, caller. Good morning. Good morning, caller. Hi, Miss
Hello?
Hi, Miss Cammy.
Good morning to Miss Duncan.
Good morning.
Good morning and good morning to Mr. Bullock.
Good morning to you too, Miss Cammy.
How are you doing, sir?
We're very, very
How
well.
is the season? You are
Well-
doing season already?
Well, not as much as we should
Not
have
yet.
because of the rain, I think. We're
Yeah.
losing a lot of
All
the
right.
flowers
Well,
and so
I just called as you guys to say good morning
we
and
appreciate
good morning. Oops, I would say change. And to say good morning to the Grenadian people home and abroad, Mr. Watson, Zingo, and everybody. Good morning. Yeah.
We
And
are-
Miller,
Yes,
well,
ma'am.
we should have sent some toys for me, you know.
some
To give
toys.
the children that's passing on the terminal before you have toys up there.
Well,
You have children,
let me
you
just
know,
let me just
and
explain
they're
for you
making this
quickly.
toys thing a politics thing. You know, somebody bad-minded people. I don't say the bad mind.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
So, anyhow, we thought you have sent two toys give me for my grandchildren.
Okay. Well, we don't
Yes,
have right
so you
now,
have it there.
Miss Cammy. I'll explain
And
to you.
what
when
I
we
want to
finish.
say is, the things start to pick up now. The Christmas spirit started to pick up because the people start to spend.
Right.
Right? They start to spend the money. And this is going to be a good week.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
So some people say that you let us do it last up to spend. So I want to advise everybody, first and give me a little support. I have a lot of Grenadian flags. I will come and get a flag and I will go back in America. And I have a lot of bags. For the ladies, I give for free advertisement.
Yes.
Come and get some nice shopping bags. And I have work bags. Come and get some and support Miss Cammy because these people are helping. I need me to commission so I could buy milk for a fish for the holiday and to give me water bill.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And good morning to the chocolate nurses, nurses, and everybody. And we say, you know, things is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Things is happening and the next problem I have now, Mr. Bola, but they had to close on the road because the road working,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
you know.
But they would work
And
on
the
it.
tourists and them, well, Charlie, I had to go to Charlie because whenever the tourists and them come, they always go and drink a beer and drink
Yeah.
a rum punch.
Yes.
And the police by around there, you know.
Yes.
So, I don't want the people to be blaming the Prime Minister for that. That road, that problem, there's not the Prime Minister. Everybody, everything is keeping Grenada. Stop that.
Yes. They
Stop
need to.
that. We have that problem. There's that gravel place. Gravel.
Yes.
You understand? And they're just blaming the man. And they have children, they have grandchildren, they have family. I don't want to hear nobody say nothing bad about my kids.
Yes.
Bad they might be. You know, it's not nice. It's not healthy. And that's people that keep with your health.
Yes.
That's people in health get an education and fighting in them.
Yes.
Stop it. Some of your head mouth going back on your head. Stop them kind of thing. We need a nice place, small place. People in the world listening. People that not from Grenada when they come, they talk so highly about Grenada.
Yeah.
You live in here,
Yeah.
you say nothing happening. Mr. Bola, when you get a chance, come in, you say no.
Yes.
And go on the hill.
Yes.
The story building the Chinese people building.
I know where
And
I
they
see
must
it.
call and say what is going on in our community. Call and say, look at the by road. He wasn't going to by road we have in Montgomery. Where will I pass to come in town this morning?
Yes,
Yep.
yes,
The
yes.
one for Willis. And the city started and they stop. And then they go and finish it.
Yes.
All it must not be like that in Grenada. I don't even bother and I stop you when things is wrong. I don't have to be ashamed. When thing is wrong, I say, when I do anything wrong.
Yes.
When I do good things, say do good things.
Yeah.
I live in Grenada all my life. I ain't never hear the people that said I'm in the opposition come and say, well, you know, I'm not someone in MP, but look at Bill I had 10 times wrong. Look
Yes.
at Bill that road. Eh? How you want people to vote for you when I'm saying nothing happening? And we have eyes to see things is happening.
Yeah.
We are sitting here. I remember as a young girl, I used to bathe and go here. We used to bathe here.
Right.
We are
They were
sitting
sick.
right now.
Yes.
And the bill are coming out over the sea.
Yes.
Right here. And they say nothing happening. Nothing happening at all it's no telling Ganan. You share a bad mind. It's
That's
bad-minded people.
Yes.
And they claim to be a Christian nation. They want to church to say and pray. They want people to look up to them. All you have to start is hypocrisy. Stop
Hypocrisy.
it. It's time. Have a blessed day.
Thank
And
you.
tell them people, come on, give me a say.
Give Miss
Who want to
Carmi
go
a
and buy,
say.
buy. Who don't want to
Give
buy diabetes?
that the money is
Right?
theirs, but they must pass
Have a
and see what
blessed
you
day.
have. Thank you. We appreciate and we wish you the best. We hope that people will come. Or they check out Miss Carmi on the bus terminal. She said she has a lot of bags, work bags, shopping bags, and many other things. But as it relates to the toys, and you know, Ms. Duncan did make a point about that before. This is not a government initiative.
Yeah.
It is not taxpayers' money. It is the party, the new national party, that makes contacts, that does its fundraisers, that brings in toys. Ms. Kami, we do not have any at the office this year to give to you. And the simple reason is we were expecting 2 containers of toys. 2 containers. They were shipped at the same time, but for some unknown reason, one arrived in Grenada, the other one went elsewhere. When we did the inquiry and we get back to the shippers, we are told that, yes, one went to the wrong place. They're trying to get it back and get it to Grenada. But most likely, from all that they're telling us, based on the contacts they have to make and where the ship would have to go, it's not going to get here before the Christmas, unfortunately. So what came in the first container, they just distributed it for all the parliamentary reps so that they can do distribution in their own communities and constituencies. So normally we would have a little extra that we keep up by the central office and people like yourself and others who pass. Even some of the other organizations, people don't know. Some of the preschools, some of the children home. We provide them yearly with toys. This year we are unable to do so because one of the containers have not yet arrived. Most likely, they said, it's going to get here just about Christmas Day or sometime soon after Christmas. So we are a bit short-handed this year, not able to provide for all of the people. Some of them have been calling already. They have been given the explanation and they understand.
Yeah.
So we're doing the best we can. And it is not a government toy distribution program. It is a party. And I'm not saying that to say that, if you support the party, you'll get, and if you're not. Because last night, for example, in my own village, the parliamentary rep came and she distributed after we gave snacks and juice and other things to the children. And I did not hear anyone being asked who your parents support.
Exactly.
All children that was there
All children.
received. Doesn't matter which home they come from, doesn't matter who their parents support, doesn't matter what color t-shirt they were wearing, they got a toy to make them happy and to enjoy the Christmas season.
Absolutely. We have another call on the line, and I think that's going to be
Okay.
our last caller. Hello?
Mr. Bola, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
sir.
Yeah, we don't get records.
Something is going on there. Something
Hello?
with your phone.
Oh, no. All right. If he gets an opportunity, he'll give us a call back. I think it's an announcement he wants to make.
Yes. Yeah, he wanted
We have
to do.
another call. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning, lady.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning to Mr. Bola.
Hi, how are you?
I don't... oh, me?
Yes.
I'm balling.
You still balling?
Yes.
Nobody came to your rescue yet?
I'm balling,
No.
sir.
Something is wrong.
I'm
Since
balling,
before
sir.
I left the island, we made all the arrangements for you.
I'm Marlin, sir.
I went and come back.
Yes, sir, Marlin.
Okay.
You have to make a follow-up again,
Yes,
sir.
yes, I have to do that. Well,
But
I was out. I came back. I didn't hear you, so I thought everything was rectified.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
But that I really called for.
Tell us.
I called to compliment the fella that talked just now. About Bonadine and them. Like they was not listening to the budget or something?
Probably not.
So much nice thing in the budget and Bonadine and them gaining like that?
You know.
So you have to want me. You have to have respect for my mouth, and I will call them in the name.
Bull. Sometimes, as Grenadians, as people in general, we sit down and we listen to something to look for points where we can criticize.
Yes.
So we miss all the good things.
All the good things.
That's probably what was happening. Yeah.
But what that hurt me so much, and I'm feeling a pressure about it. Them self-criticizing this country.
Yes.
But they want to come and rule the same country. What they really telling people?
Yep.
What they really telling people? Everything that happened in this country is bad. Mm-hmm. The government this, the government that, the government what. No they must have a compromisation in them.
Yes.
Look what the businessman said, Mr. Hole call him.
Yeah, Diali.
And they still can learn after that?
They don't want to.
No, but they want to come in power.
Yes.
There they go stay and only dream about power. They have a long time to wait.
We understand.
NDC can come in power in this country in a hurry.
Right.
No. I don't know if you've seen it, but I seen 15 again coming up.
But we had to work for it, we can't just sit down and think.
So we working, and what I hearing all over where pass and everything and what I want.
Yes.
No, NMP in full swing.
Yes.
Because you see, NMP don't boast and NMP don't brag. What they go do is that what they go do.
And we're working for people. We
That's
want
right.
people to benefit. People.
And the people seeing,
yes.
Look how much nice thing that happening. Oh my God. These NDC people and them don't have a conscience.
Sometimes we have to pray for them too, We have to pray for them, bull.
Yeah, and they say them have a heart, What heart they have? You don't have no blood.
Maybe paper heart.
That one don't have no blood in it.
A heart of paper?
Yeah, a heart of paper. You have no blood in it.
Yes, we understand.
So, sir.
Yes, I will work on nothing for you today,
yes,
sir. I'll make a call again and see what.
Because Christmas coming,
Yeah, I know you had to do good for your Christmas. We can't let your Christmas be sour.
I mean a day and a holding on, but say what?
Hold on.
So all the best with two of all you.
Take care, enjoy the rest of the day and have a good week.
May the season reach us good and let it go with us with a peaceful and a quiet mind for 2020.
Yes.
And beyond.
I agree.
So all the best then.
All right, you too.
Yes. Thank you, boy.
Well, Mr. Bowler, time is upon us. Do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to give?
Well, I just want to remind everyone out there, it is the season of merriment, the birth of Christ. Sometimes we forget that's what we're celebrating, and we get into all the other things, the niceties, the clothes, baking, cooking the ham, making sure that we bring the drinks at home. We don't ever stop for a moment to think, let's concentrate and say thank you to the one above, the unseen being that has created heaven and earth and has given us an opportunity to enjoy a good life, a good year. I mean, maybe we did not achieve everything we set out to, but we have had significant progress and advancement. We need to be thankful. We need to say to God, look, bless us for the new year. We need to be grateful that we're living in a peaceful country. A country where at least we still have an opportunity to speak our mind. Freedom of speech. There's so many parts of the world where people cannot. Even if they want to, they are afraid because their own lives can be jeopardized, the lives of the family as a result. I never hope to see that in Grenada, but we need to be grateful and thankful.
Absolutely.
And let us be friendly with people. Because you know what? Sometimes we speak a lot, but our actions tells a different story. Let us keep and have our actions coincide with our thoughts and what we see from our mouths. I really do hope that this Christmas season will bring about positive change for a lot of people. We'll have an opportunity to do good for each other. And in particular, those of us who are owners or drivers of vehicles. Remember that as of today, the implementation of the breathalyzer has started. The police officers are armed. So as we go about and we try to make merriment, to have nice time with our friends, our relatives, please, if you are going to be driving, if you're the designated driver, do not drink, do not consume alcohol.
Yeah.
It is dangerous to be under the influence and driving anyway. But now you can also be charged by the police for so doing. So if you are the designated driver, no alcohol. For another night at the Lyman, someone else can be designated driver and you can drink, you can get drunk, they'll put you in the vehicle and bring you back home. We want to be having a safe, accident and incident-free holiday season, but a better Grenada for all at the end of the day. We thank you for listening to us today and being with us. Do enjoy the rest of today. Have a good and productive week and a wonderful holiday season.
Wonderful. But right before we go, I just want to make a quick announcement. The United Carol and Friends, they're having their annual Christmas carol concert. It's expected to be a wonderful, well, actually, it's themed. It's the most wonderful time of year. Yes, it's expected to be wonderful. You can come out and hear all of your, or most of your local artists doing a rendition along with their choir. Yes, I will be doing a couple renditions. So if you never hear me sing before, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to come by and support. I believe tickets are $25 per ticket, and you can contact, I believe, all of the parliamentary representatives have access to tickets. So you can contact your parliamentary representative and they will tell you exactly where you can acquire one of those tickets. And that's happening on Sunday, the 22nd of December at the Spice Basket. So
this
coming Sunday. So come out and just have a wonderful time with us. Guys, we are definitely out of time. And of course, it's always a pleasure being here with you. And whatever you say and whatever you do, be safe, be secure. We want to be talking with you and not about you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Foreign Affairs Minister says Grenada's policy governing diplomatic appointments remains consistent with international norms. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Friday, December 13th, 2019, I am Rakisha St. Louis. Foreign Affairs Minister Honorable Peter David says Grenada's policy, which governs the appointment of diplomats, remains consistent with international norms and are therefore not in contravention of the Vienna Convention. Minister David says the fact that someone may be in possession of a diplomatic passport does not give them immunity from anything. The only appointments that are subject to diplomatic immunity according to the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations are officials who are accredited by the receiving state. Minister David explained the process during an interview with some members of the media on Friday.
The fact that we give somebody a diplomatic passport to be an honorary consul or to be any kind does not give them any form of immunity. A diplomatic passport, you know, our PSs, many of them have diplomatic passports, our senior officials have diplomatic passports or official passports. Having a diplomatic passport does not give the holder any kind of diplomatic immunity in and of itself. In order to get diplomatic immunity, the receiving country and the countries in where we have ambassadors would be Brussels, Russia, London, China, New York, Washington, Caracas, and Havana. Those countries, the ambassadors there would have immunity in those countries. The other diplomats we speak of, the honorary consuls and other holders of diplomatic passports, have no form of immunity because we cannot.
The Public Workers Union and the Grenada Union of Teachers, who are jointly representing faculty and staff at the T.A. Marisha Community College, have officially written to the chairman of the college council, Augustin Vespri, accepting the offer of part payment of $1.75 million on or before December 30th. The money represents part payment of increments owed to the college faculty and staff. The letter also stated, and I quote, that the joint unions will appreciate a firm determination for the payment of the outstanding balance of $4,368,000 to be made by December 18th and a signed agreement by December 19th, 2019 to concretize this proposal.
We have been negotiating with the two unions representing the staff and faculty at TAMCC for a while now. We made a previous proposal, and the one we made recently of $1.75 million have been accepted for a part payment of the increment owed to the staff. That we want to thank the union and members of the union, the leadership of the union and its members, for accepting that proposal at this time. The other part, the balance of the payment, need to be worked on. They are asking and place some conditions on us. And we have replied to them indicating that at our scheduled meeting on the 18th, that is Wednesday next week, the matter will be studied and we would come up with whatever is necessary to ensure that we realize our commitment to the staff.
Mr. Vespri says both parties are still in negotiations and the proposal will be discussed with the council members when they meet next Wednesday, December 18th. He says the council's December 18th meeting was already scheduled prior to the receipt of the proposal from the joint unions of PWU and GUT.
We are still in negotiation. Obviously, we would state our position if it comes to that. And we would study their conditions that they want with respect to the balance of the payment. We'll do that. And then whatever negotiated agreement, we'll be able to commit to it.
But from where the council sits at this moment, do you think it's one that you will be able to work out, or?
Well, I think so, because we have been able to work out this first stage of the increment. So I don't think it would be impossible to continue working and realizing an amicable solution to the increment problem.
The council, he says, is committed to the payment of the increments in question. This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
Did you join the public service on or after February 22nd, 1985 and have since retired? This might be important to you. Government understands that the NIS pension may be insufficient to take care of your needs. So, while it awaits the court's ruling on the matter of pension for public officers, government has taken action to protect your quality of life so that you can take care of your needs in the meantime. Persons who joined the public service on or after February 22nd, 1985 and serve continuously in an established position for a minimum 26 years and 8 months and retired at age 60 may be eligible to receive an advance payment, which when combined with NIS represents 70% of their last salary. For more information, call or visit the Pension Secretariat in the Department of Public Administration, Ministerial Complex, 440-3767.
Welcome back. New gas detectors donated by the government and people of Japan will change the response strategy of the RGPF's fire department. The department on Friday displayed items that were donated by the Japanese government and the fire department of Canada in November. Sergeant Adrian Pantru said that the gas detectors are timely and much needed to enhance the department's execution. They can be used in confined spaces for arson investigation, leak detection, and landfill monitoring.
These gas detectors has the capacity to detect gases such as carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide, and as it relates to toxic gases, we speak in things like ammonia, chlorine, hydrogen cyanide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and methane. As it stands presently, without the gas detectors, as firefighters, when we go out to most of these scenes, we are going in blindly. We go in on faith because we are not able to determine the level of these gases that we have in the environment. In most instances, we will just use our self-contained breathing apparatus to deal with those situations. However, with the inclusion now of these gas detectors to our toolkit as it relates to firefighting, we'll be able to detect these gases, and then we'll be able to, in a better position to deal with those emergencies.
Sergeant Panchu says officers in the department will be trained to use the equipment.
Come next Tuesday, the 17th of December 2019, we will be receiving training from the company Pendec, which is Pro Engineering Design Consultant, who is a regional agent for these gas detectors. And they will be coming here to Grenada to provide some training for members of the fire department. It would be more so the trainers, where we would have a number of persons from the fire department being trained, but these persons in turn would train all the members so that who is on duty at the point in time that we might get an emergency, they'll be able to go out and use those detectors.
He stressed the need for Grenadians to adopt a culture of developing a home emergency plan. This plan will prepare families in the event of a fire.
That is something that a lot of persons do not have in place. You go to work every day and you have a work emergency plan, you do fire drills and so forth. But who are more dear to you? Yes, your co-workers might be there, but your family at home, your children, right? They are most dear to you. So you need to have a home emergency plan, and you need to actually have drills at home. Let your children know exactly what they should do. If they get up in the middle of the night and the house is filled with smoke, how do they get out? You practice those things and they know exactly where they should go. You have a muster point so that everyone can congregate there so that you can actually account for persons. So when we as firefighters get to the scene, you're in a position to tell us, listen, everyone is accounted for, so you're only dealing with a fire.
Bunker suits, 27 trousers, 27 jackets, 43 shirts, 5 helmets, gas and dust-proof masks are among the items donated. Finally, in the news, a team from the Ministry of Infrastructure Development moved swiftly on Thursday to clear a landslide in the Granatang area caused by heavy rains. The ministry team worked with officials from the fire department and Flow, who helped to facilitate the smooth flow of traffic. The landslide occurred as a result of heavy rains on Thursday. That story just ended the national report for today, Friday, December 13th. Let's recap the top story. Foreign Affairs Minister says Grenada's policy governing diplomatic appointments remains consistent with international norms. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.